Alright, cool. Alright then. Alright, so I guess we'll do an intro.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but I suppose this is the intro for this podcast. Alright, cool. So,
We've done so many of these now.
Yeah, just do it off the fly.
Yeah, that's true.
Alright, yeah, this is the first Type Men podcast, with me, Ed.
Yeah, say something, man. Come on.
Okay, so, we
need to introduce ourselves.
So I could just say everyone and then we could...
Oh, you're just looking at me. Hello, I'm Nav. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah. I think this should go out. Like it is. It's kind of funny. Yeah.
Alright, cool. Yeah. So I guess that's gonna go out.
So that voice was Ed's. I'm Nav.
Cool. So what were we going to talk about? Was it Tottenham? Michael, you had a topic about Tottenham.
Yeah. Great start.
I'll go first. Football seems to be the way we're going to go. So
yeah, it's a good way to start.
Start light.
Yeah.
Basically, with obviously the introduction of the new stadium.
Everyone likes football.
It's an alright stadium.
Whatever. There is that soulless bowl about 4 miles down the road, but other than that, it's...
Don't agree. Wait, what do you mean? You have...
No, I'm not into that. I agree with that.
So what are you talking about?
There's no atmosphere.
That's not true.
I was about to say, is that actually a thing?
Here we go.
I'm a Tottenham fan.
That's bollocks. It's just, I know it's not true.
That's not true.
Yeah, but I've said this before.
Ed always resorts to not true statements. We're having a thorough conversation and he brings it down straight away.
Anti-Arsenal bias in this group. Wait. Right now, all three of you.
No, here we go again. No, it's not. It comes from you not talking.
No, not at all.
Because exactly, you started.
But why
is
that
introducing my point of the podcast.
Wrong. No, it's because you started straight away by saying Tottenham Stadium is like.
So you have
exactly.
To,
Hasn't even finished his topic yet.
I wasn't saying anything about Arsenal.
Straight away.
Yeah, I know.
Exactly. There's no need for that.
All right. You know what?
And then he has to dig out Chelsea. What's going on?
Liverpool and Arsenal fans being have cut from the same cloth.
They are indeed.
Of winners.
They're both
of winners.
No, they're both victims. Both victims.
Edward
is now a victim
100%
of being ganged up
winners.
by three people when he
from the last
started.
generation.
A United fan, a Spurs fan, and a Chelsea fan, and obviously Arsenal's the common hate amongst you guys.
But I think you want it to be that way, so you can play the victim card.
Yeah, I like an easy life, you know. Yeah.
Nah, man, not really.
Can I get back to it?
It is a great stadium. I'll agree with that. It's a nice stadium.
It's all right. Well done.
Anyway, you got a great stadium.
So anyway, I was there, fortunately.
Hey, Mike, well done. That's brilliant.
Night.
Way better than
Watched
Emirates.
the Palace game. It was very good, although the opening ceremony I thought was a bit much. There was singing, and I can understand there was because apparently the turning point.
What was it? I
Daniel
didn't actually see
Levy
what
wanted to relocate to the Olympic Stadium. That's what he wanted to do because Haringey Council were putting up too many red flags and basically not giving him what he wanted. Then all of a sudden the Tottenham riots hit. And the very next day he got a phone call and basically changed his mind within a couple of minutes because he wanted to reinvest into Tottenham and regenerate the area. So that's why we ended up staying there.
He got a phone call from who? What, the council?
No, from his personal advisor, Diane, her name is. She's she sits on the board at Tottenham. And so the opening ceremony was a group, they're like a church gospel sort of thing, and they'd done some singing at the riots to raise money and all that, so he got them and they sung. And I thought it was a bit over the top. A little bit like a World Cup opening ceremony, which I think is a bit much. But anyway.
That may be foreshadowing what's to come with the NFL deal. We're going to have all that crap.
Oh, yeah, of course, yeah. And we've just signed a deal with Saracens, which I think is awful.
Was there fireworks?
Awful business. Yeah, coming out the top of the...
Your pitch is going to be torn to shreds.
It's going to be bashed, that's what I'm saying.
Don't you have two pictures, though? Yeah, you have two pictures.
No,
but it comes out, though, doesn't it? Yeah, it's two pictures.
NFL 3G, 4G pitch. Now, they won't play rugby on that.
Yeah.
So they'll play rugby on the grass pitch.
Yeah, that's going to be torn to shreds, man.
On the football pitch.
Your groundskeeper's got a job. He's got a job for him. Yeah.
It's like Wigan stadiums.
The point that I want to say is that the last 4.5 years has been perceived by many, apart from Arsenal fans, obviously, as being ahead of schedule. With what was this project that has been battered about, whereas the stadium was supposed to be either the initial steps or somewhere in the middle, it's now turned out to be the final piece of the jigsaw, which is what it's being billed as, which is fair enough. You know, a £1 billion stadium, which once all is said and done with the deal with Saracens and the NFL and naming rights and all that sort of stuff, it's not really going to leave us too much out of pocket by the sounds of it. The general rumour is that within the next 12 months it will be paid for. The bank loans will be paid for.
That's mental.
600 and something £1 million worth of bank loans. They'll be done, paid.
I still don't know how that's going to work.
If he does that, I mean,
Well, look at United's debt and how long it's been there for, and we've been commercially the most successful club in the world, and we still haven't paid off all of the debt. So if he could do that within a season and a half, bloody hell, he is. As I said to you,
for this year and all that sort of stuff.
No, it was record profits, not record
profits for this year.
And
the point I want to say is there is no more excuses now. There's no more always the bridesmaids and Spursy and and all that rubbish, because now you would think to yourself, they've got a bit of financial clout, so that 2 or 3 that you need to really push you on, you should go out and get.
I think so, but do you reckon that investment's going to come this summer? I think it might just be a bit too early for that investment to come this summer.
I think it is going to be this summer.
I think Levy, being the businessman that he is, he would want to see how the finances look, even if he is forecasted to pay back the debt within a season and a half. I think he'll want to wait for a little bit to see how it pans out. I don't think you'll have a situation on your hand like Arsenal when they moved into the Emirates and they pretty much just bought no one for like 15 years.
But think about that. I think we had to deal with the financial crisis as well. Like when we,
that's true. You did have to deal with the global downturn. That hadn't kicked in yet.
There wasn't that sort of money. So I think we've done it at the right time financially.
But then
I think you've done it at the right time. But again, I don't know if I'm confident that you'll be able to pay off 600 million within a season.
And you don't even know a lot of money. I mean, you know, when we say debt, we're talking about good debt. You know, like it's the same as a mortgage when you buy a house. It is debt, but it's payable.
Yeah.
And who knows what's going to happen? There could be another crisis. Hopefully not.
Yeah, there could be. But I mean, like on the transfer side, I think it's a dead rubber that Eriksen's going to go.
Do you reckon?
To Madrid. I think it's going to be Madrid, and they're talking somewhere in the region of 80 odd million.
He's got 1 year left on his contract, though, right?
No, 2.
2. Okay,
2 years. So they're looking. It's probably going to be about 80 to. They reckon it's anywhere between 80 and 100 million for Eriksen, which is. I mean, I'd sell him.
How old is he?
27.
Right.
But the one that I would be more concerned about replacing would be Alderweireld, other than Eriksen, because players like Eriksen, I think, are 10 a penny, really.
Really?
Those creative. I could tell you 2 right now who would slot straight into that Tottenham team that are playing in the Premier League. James Maddison.
I mean, if he goes to Real Madrid, he could even swap him for Isco, because Isco's going to be
But this is what I'm saying. I mean, Zidane doesn't like Isco, does he? Obviously, because when he was there before, he never played.
Yeah, Maddison's really good as well.
Yeah, Maddison and Brooks. There's 2 there who I think would. I mean, Bournemouth have been imploding for months, haven't they?
Yeah, they've been on a downward spiral. Like Brooks is really good.
I think they've got some decent players.
David
Bournemouth.
Brooks,
I quite like Lewis Cook as well.
Yeah, Fraser. We're looking at
Fraser.
him as well.
So, Mike, when you say there's no excuses, are you saying next season Tottenham win the trophy?
I don't think you can get away with not winning a trophy, because you've got the stadium and they all seem to be making the same noises. Pochettino, Harry Kane, they're all making the same noises about investment in different ways. They're saying it, but it's all the same sort of thing. You get 1 or 2 players in, and that's exactly right.
To be quite honest, I think you're selling yourselves a bit short. I think you still need a couple of years. I don't think you build a stadium, you invest hundreds of millions into your squad, and then automatically win a title.
No.
I was going to say Chelsea kind of did that. Yeah.
Maybe a trophy. Maybe no. They didn't. Chelsea didn't do it on their first year of.
Yeah, it was our second season. We won
Man
the title,
City took ages to do it. I mean, it's not. Yeah, you don't just like have all of these riches.
City
invest.
was like 2 years, wasn't it? They had one season. They had one season with Hughes, and then Mancini's first season they won the league.
No, I'm pretty sure they took. I'm sure they took about 3 or 4 years to win.
No. Yeah,
I'm sure they took about 3 or 4 years.
First full season, because he came in at the end of the year, and that's when we finished 4th and they finished 5th. We beat them. Like the last away game of the season, whatever it was, Crouch scored. We beat them 1-0 to finish above them for a Champions League place. Then the following full season, they won the league.
So what's that? A season and a half?
Yeah.
No, I can't believe they won it that quickly. The league? No, we need to check that. I'm pretty sure it took them a little while.
Mancini was only there for like 2.5 seasons, wasn't he?
We can have a look.
Also, with Chelsea, like I suppose they had to get the manager in as well, because they bought loads of players under
Ranieri.
Yeah, Ranieri, but then they came up against the Invincibles, and like, what could they do really? What could they do really? But then
that drawing season, full of draws. I think that's a record draws.
We won like 26 games and 12 draws.
No, it's more.
You did lose games though.
Not in the Premier League though. That's why we're invincible in the Premier League.
No one gives a shit, mate.
Yeah,
I mean, no one does. I think you're overblowing it.
Surely being invincible is like you're invincible.
Yeah.
You win the quadruple, you don't lose a game. No, I'm just saying.
Hey, like we went.
And that Perez dive, I've always said this, but that dive against Portsmouth.
4 years it took.
We went the whole Premier League season without.
Sheikh Mansour took over in 2008 and they won it in 2012. I told you it's not overnight.
No, I'm not talking about a title. When I say about winning something,
like an FA Cup or
go and win the League Cup.
Yeah.
You know, just win a trophy.
So on that point then, Mike, like this is where the Chelsea mentality is slightly different. But let's just say you don't then next season. Sack Pochettino?
I don't think Pochettino will get the sack.
But
I don't think he should
would
get
you
the sack.
want him to get sacked? No.
I don't think he should get this. I think Pochettino's a great manager.
I do too, yeah.
I do. Michael's mentioned this before. I do think that he falls down slightly when the tactics don't quite work from the beginning of the match. He's very, very slow to change things up, which can be to Tottenham's detriment. Because us as fans, if I watch Tottenham play and then they're losing, for instance, I can see quite quickly what's wrong. And Pochettino will make those changes, but he'll leave it far too long to make those changes. He likes to make changes around the 70 minute mark, doesn't he? Yeah, he doesn't really like to change up the system too much, which is pretty. I think if you're going to win a title, you need to have that little bit of flexibility.
That urgency as well.
Like, unless you're Guardiola, who can literally play the same tactic everywhere, and he bloody just seems to win. I don't know how he manages never to change that tactic.
It's because he can spend billions of pounds.
He can spend billions on the right people for the system. Yeah, exactly.
It's that simple.
What's your thoughts on Ole being given the job?
Do you know what? I'm actually pretty happy that he's been given the job. I mean, he's done a fantastic job since he's been there as the caretaker manager. And for me, he's not really put much of a foot wrong. He's saying the right things. Most of the players seem to be happy. I think the problems that Man United have, especially now that it's coming to light that maybe Mourinho wasn't the cause of some of those problems, and I'm thinking that the board is largely to blame for a lot of our issues at the moment.
That's interesting, yeah.
Like sanctioning the amount of money that we're paying Sanchez, which is fucking up our wage structure, which now means that David De Gea wants
he's called out
a week because Sanchez has got. I think he's on like something after his bonuses. If he plays, he's on like 420 a week. 420 a week he's on.
Pogba wants it as well, I think I heard. But, yeah.
Pogba wants it, but Pogba's got essentially 3 years left on his contract. And I think this issue with letting the contracts run down as well is very like Ed Woodward. I don't know what he's doing. He's trying to penny pinch basically.
That's an Arsenal tactic, isn't it?
So what he does is he lets the contract run.
No, but mine's based on fact.
What fact?
Okay. Come on, how many players of yours gone to the last? Ramsey. Whoa, Ramsey. Surely
we got a lot of good youth players coming through. You know, like I'm not that.
See, I initially thought that the tactic that we use in terms of contract renewals was actually quite a sound method, which is to take it up into the final year and then have an optional year where we extend and then try and get the contract sorted out in the additional year. But it doesn't seem to be working because the players are now thinking, well, you know, if I'm valued that much when I've got 2 years left on my contract, you should be looking to renew, which is what most clubs do. But for some reason, United, and I know why, is because Ed Woodward's a businessman and he wants to pay them as little as possible for as long as possible. So if he can do it in the optional year, then he's only got to pay them the increased wages for that optional year and beyond.
So you cool with? So the reason I asked is because obviously Mike's at Tottenham. So Pochettino, do you feel a little disappointed with not getting Pochettino, or are you cool?
Not at all. I mean, from what I've seen of Ole, and everyone always says it's weird because when you actually watch the pundits talk about Ole, they were like, "Oh, he's got a mixed career." Not really. He's won loads at Mould. He came to Cardiff for a season when they were already fighting a relegation battle and they went down, and then all of a sudden, like he's got a mixed career. And I mean, that's literally his only.
They were pretty shit though, weren't they? Cardiff.
Yeah, but that was literally his only success. Is that one season at Cardiff?
They didn't even have like a short upturn in fortune, did they?
No. I don't even think he didn't even do a full season there, did he?
He was there for like 3 or 4 months, wasn't he?
Yeah, that's what I mean. So how can you put that? How can you tarnish him when they were already like a week? They were probably the weakest team. Do you not
feel now that the honeymoon shine's wearing off a little bit? That it's
lost to Wolves
he's
twice.
Getting a little bit found out now. Do you feel?
I don't know, because again, like if you watch the games, I don't think it's his tactics. I think the players seem to have. I don't know. There's a lot of heads being turned, I think, by the media and this talk, because Pogba's been having De Gea's been having a shit
about Pogba.
De Gea's been having a shit time as well. He's just not looking the same player he was. So I don't know whether all
It's
of
that
this
Tottenham
media
He
stuff.
knackered himself with the Tottenham game, didn't he?
No, I don't think it, you know what I think it is. I think it's definitely the contract situations. I think because you can tell the players that are running out of contracts are the ones that seem to
like Smalling or Jones or people.
No, they all
they all re-signed recently. Yeah.
All of the dead got contracts. No, it's Herrera. So, for instance, Herrera might be off to PSG. Mata's out of contract.
Yeah, but see, players like
De
Mata,
Gea's
you should be letting them go anyway.
I wanted Mata.
I've got a soft spot for Mata. Chelsea.
I wanted Mata to come to
No, I like Mata. He's a great human being.
Yeah. Wenger actually wanted him. Yeah.
No, he's a great human being, but to be quite honest, the way that we don't play with a number 10, and Mata hasn't got the legs.
Yeah, he's slow. He's slow. Yeah.
So he's so slow. He can't play off the left.
Well.
So he's 29, 30 years old. I mean, I think it is time for him to move on. I do think it's time for Mata to move on, and I wouldn't be disappointed if we let him go in the summer. Herrera I'm a little bit disappointed with, because I think Herrera does have that. He has a certain bite about him, and I think he's pretty important for the way that United play. It all depends on what we can do this summer. Pogba won't go anywhere. He's got 3 years left on his contract. Real Madrid won't be able to afford him. No, not this summer. They won't be able to afford him. He's got 3 years left on his contract.
I don't know. I think Zidane came back with a promise.
Yeah, man. But Madrid are going to spend a lot of money.
Yeah.
And I'm worried about obviously our man Hazard.
Hazard.
Well, the talks coming out of the club is that Pogba they're valuing him northwards of 200 million. So I doubt they're not going to.
No, because see, Pogba's the sort of player who's just going to throw a hissy fit. He's that sort of player, isn't he? He's just going to.
Well, we'll see what happens, but I don't think Pogba's going anywhere, to be honest.
You say that. I for me as a Chelsea fan, I wish him all the best, because he's been with us for 6 seasons and he's always been committed, and I've got nothing but love for Hazard. So
apparently to bring it back to Pogba, he's actually in talks for a new contract now. So I reckon that could have been like what Real Madrid basically do, what their players basically do with United. I think Pogba's probably doing the same thing with Madrid.
To get more money, essentially.
Flirting to get. Varane does it. Varane's done it with us now. He's sort of talking about because he's out of contract at the end. He'll sign with Madrid.
He's so good,
all of them do it. But have you noticed with their big players, they all talk about
for me, Varane, one of the best centre backs in the world.
Do you not just think that he looks that good when he plays next to Ramos?
So my mate was actually saying the same thing.
Interesting point.
Makes players look. Ledley King done the same thing. You stick Michael Dawson next to Ledley King, and all of a sudden it's like Baresi and Maldini. But you stick Michael Dawson next to, I don't know, Tony Gardner or fucking some lunatic like that. Titus Bramble.
He was a funny one. Yeah. They were talking about it.
They're both shit. They're just both shit. But like John Terry, if you stuck anyone next to John Terry,
Gary Cahill.
But look at Gary Cahill turned himself into club captain by playing next to John Terry.
Yeah, the way I also judge
it's the same like Ferdinand. You put anyone next to Rio Ferdinand, and they look like fucking gods.
They were both equally like.
Yeah, they were both. They were, but see, no, Ferdinand.
Yeah, but Ferdinand was the Rolls Royce.
He was a ball player, wasn't he? Ferdinand.
Yeah, he could take the ball out. Do you know he went a season without getting a yellow card? He played the full season with Vidic, and he didn't get one yellow as a defender because he never goes down. He never goes down in a tackle.
You see the clip that Gary Neville was talking about with Van Dijk, where he keeps Sissoko on his weak foot.
Yeah,
just not making a rash challenge, just keep him on his weak foot and then letting him.
But it was also
Van Dijk's a beast.
He was doing 2 things. He was shutting the pass off to Son, and keeping Sissoko.
That's quality.
Sissoko's not very good on his right foot. Shit is on his left.
Van Dijk is a brilliant defender, but I still think Rio Ferdinand.
But that's what I'm saying about that's what I was saying about investment. So it's not just Tottenham going out and buying 3 or 4 world-class first-team players. You need the squad players as well, because when you're 1-1 against Liverpool away from home, and you've got someone running through on goal, and it's not Kane and it's not Ali
or Son,
and then it falls down to players like Sissoko. You've got your next in line are players like, and I knew when he got to the edge of the area that we weren't scoring.
It's interesting you say that, because I look at Tottenham and I just think they're just one Gareth Bale signing away from being
total. Yeah, but for the first 11, but we need a squad. We need a
backup striker for sure.
Kane was injured, Son was injured. You guys did alright.
But I mean, what you could do, and what I think Pochettino likes doing, is playing Son there.
Yeah.
When Kane's in.
And it worked well though, didn't it? You guys won those 3 games.
I rate Son. I like Son a lot.
First, your form went down when Kane came back in a way, really, didn't it? Like, to be fair, like
because the team is built to supply Kane. That's why, and I think that's why Son does fall off a bit when Kane. Not saying he plays badly, but the focus isn't. I don't know. I think Son is incredible when Harry Kane's not on the pitch. I really do. I really
floats
do.
About, and you know, but I mean, who in their right mind? Let's be honest. If you're getting a striker, you want someone that's going to score you double figures. Yeah.
Well, as a backup or a top striker?
Well, just a striker in general, a backup as well. I mean, you want someone who's going to come in and score goals. Yeah. Otherwise, what's the point in having a backup striker?
Yeah.
Now, what
you can have Lukaku if you want.
What decent?
Apparently, he wants to leave as well, isn't it?
What decent backup striker, or what decent striker is going to come to Tottenham knowing that they're probably only going to play 3 or 4 games a season? Because who realistically is going to come in there and dislodge Kane as number 1 centre forward? No one.
Do you know what? I think Tottenham will be a transformed side if they can win a league. If they win just one title, I think that opens the doors because other players will then start thinking, you know what?
I don't really think. I do
think it is a title,
but I mean. You know, let's start. Give me a League Cup, mate. A League Cup will do.
I don't. That last one against Chelsea. I don't think Tottenham are capable of signing world-class players. I don't. I think Tottenham are that team that find the gems and build them into players because I don't think Tottenham has the pool to get the world-class players in. I think that what they do is they find very good players that become really great players, but they're not I don't see, like, for instance, a Dybala thinking, right, yeah, I'm going to go Tottenham. I don't.
But the problem is that we're never going to pay the money.
I think if you won a title, though.
Yeah,
I know, but I think if you won a title,
I don't think it would because we wouldn't pay the money. We would never. I mean, let's be honest.
Maybe that's the case, yeah.
Let's say Dybala, right? Dybala lands in England, yeah, and he's greeted with fucking Daniel Levy in one car, probably a Reliant Robin. You know what I mean? That was his taxi.
Boy.
Yeah. And then you've got an Ed Woodward. Yeah. Ed Woodward's got a fucking blank cheque in his hand. Dybala, how much do you want? Yeah, I'll have it. And Daniel Levy's going to give him £15 and a packet of fags.
He's counting his coppers.
But that's regardless of whether we win a title or not.
Yeah, but Levy won't be there forever, I don't think.
No, I don't.
But I reckon he's done a good job for you guys.
But if you won the title, I do think the pool will be there because I never really hear about big stars saying, "Oh right, Tottenham." I don't see you linked to the big stars.
I think the stadium's going to do that a little bit now.
Well, I see you linked to the good players who potentially could go on to become great. I see you linked to those players, but I don't ever see Tottenham being linked to a big name signing.
Because we haven't got the recent history.
Yeah. I think that's what it is.
That's what my point is. My point is if you start winning title league. I think then that opens the doors up.
How many world-class players, actual talking big players, are linked with Arsenal or Chelsea? Realistically,
not really many of them.
Not at the moment.
That's what I mean. How many?
Well, Chelsea will give you a blight because you're not allowed to sign anyone.
We were linked with Raphael Varane.
Yeah, but
just saying that.
Let's be honest, right? Before Varane won the World Cup,
no, we've been linked, and also Alaba. Like, we've been linked with him as well.
Yeah, but he's a spent force now, mate.
He's well. I don't know, is he?
Yeah, he's not what he was 3 or 4 years ago.
He's not, but he's only like 26.
No, spent force is not the right word, but he's not at the height of his career like he was.
Yeah, I think that might be buy-in rather than like him. Like,
yeah, maybe.
But just to make your point, we have been linked with like 2 world-class players like for this season, not talking last year or the year before.
All right, yeah. So
I think
all right, we're talking about this season, but then we keep getting linked with Gareth Bale.
Yeah, but there's an obvious.
But that's Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale is due to the connection rather than that.
And I actually think Gareth Bale's been linked with Chelsea as well.
Yeah, and United. And even Liverpool.
But when you actually think about it, United still now
they have the pool.
Get linked with all these world-class players.
Yeah.
Still now, and
we've not done anything for 7 years.
That's the difference
7
between
years.
United and Chelsea in a way, because Chelsea they get linked with the players because they got the money. They know Abramovich is going to spend the money on the salary, the wages, and the fee and whatever. But now you're going down, and Abramovich's connection isn't really there. Not to take a shot, but I'm just saying.
If this was a visual podcast, you'll see some smirking on Ed's face. So let's get it back to reality then. All right. So
I was in reality.
Yeah, you can hear his laughter now as well.
You're making me laugh. That's why. No, but my point was, you know what I mean, though.
To an extent. So, I mean, let's be real. It's only been 2 seasons since we last won the title. It hasn't been that long ago.
That's true. But I think that's down to Chelsea always being a transition inside.
Yeah,
because you're a permanent transition inside. So you win a title and straight away your team makeup, either it's your manager or whatnot, starts to change.
So the only point with that I'd kind of say is, I mean, our initial run of 3 titles, the spine was pretty much similar. You got Cech, Terry, Lampard, Drogba. Then the second sort of wave was Costa, Fabregas, Hazard, and then Cech again, I suppose. So we've had this sort of, and then during that time we won 2 titles as well. So squad wise, no doubt about it. We do change a lot. We change managers a lot, and you know the weird thing is, I actually think that it works.
It does work.
It works, and I also think it kind of adds to players being linked with us as well. So. Because of all these other managers, those managers have managed somewhere else, so then they'll naturally get that link. Ancelotti's players, Conte's players, Sarri's players.
Do I love Ancelotti?
Yeah.
Shit, man. I wanted him at Tottenham,
I think Ancelotti.
When they got rid of him,
I really do.
Oh, mate.
I wanted him at Tottenham.
But again, he's not a long-term manager.
And no one's a long-term manager at Chelsea because this is what I kind of mentioned to Mike earlier. It's like, say at Chelsea, if there was a point where, you saw it with Ancelotti. If we don't win the title, you're sacked. We got to that level now. We were at that level. Now we're at a level where I think if you don't get top 4, you're sacked. If it gets further than that, it could happen. So,
but I think that's pretty much apart from Pochettino, because I think he'll survive falling out of the top 4. But I think that's pretty much the case with most.
I think it's because we're ahead of,
especially with the top 6. If you fall out,
it's because we're ahead of schedule. We're ahead of schedule, so Pochettino is going to get some leeway, but he won't get leeway for long.
Well, I don't think he should get it next season. Well, I think you want to set the bar.
I think you're right. I think you're right.
Man United had that same thing when Ferguson left. Moyes' contract said, if you don't get top 4, you're out. And I think a club like Man United should have those standards. Arsenal have dropped top below that, and I'm not trying to have a dig because Wenger was basically for the last 5 years just his target was top 4. He even said it himself.
There was a few years there where he was teetering on the edge, wasn't he? It was like you were 5th until the last couple of weeks.
You almost beat us, and then you had that
that food poisoning, lasagna.
No. But past that, I'm talking about that was like an anomaly.
Villa also almost got, but then
that's what there was like a few years where you were like teetering on the edge, and then.
But it's funny because we had all these financial issues when like we were on the edge, and we always made it. Then when we were able to afford the Sanchez's, the Ozils,
you didn't make it.
Yeah, it's
I know it was odd. Yeah, it was. But
it's true.
But now I think
I think as everyone else just went further.
I think so. I think there was
like Tottenham came.
Yeah, that's true.
But that wasn't even down to spending money, was it? Really, it was just.
It had a great group of players.
It was
Pochettino and a great group of players.
You can't really take
Pochettino.
What he's done in 4.5 years.
He's amazing.
I think he's a perfect transitioning manager. Like, if your club's in transition, stick Pochettino.
Fantastic, yeah.
I wouldn't even say transition. He would have been.
No, he is.
He's got to win the title to be more than that much.
Do you know why? Do you know why he's a transitioning manager? Because he did the same thing at Southampton. You give him a group of potential, and he'll get the potential out of him. That's why he's a transitioning manager.
Because it's more developmental manager. Because he's developed Tottenham into a top side.
But I think what that's
the transition, isn't it? It's from being sort of mediocre to going up to the upper echelons.
Kind of like it's like maybe a Big Sam or someone like that, like comes in.
No, Sam's like keep you in the league. Yeah, he's
that's a saviour from relegation.
Yeah, that's a Sam manager.
See, that's where Fulham went wrong.
Should have got Big Sam in, yeah.
They should have.
Yeah,
why not?
I probably would have kept him up. And then fucked him up next season, but
they went and got Ranieri, and that was the wrong move.
Yeah, definitely it was. It's not really that type.
But when they at the beginning of the season, when when Fulham were making all those signings, I thought, do you know what, they're going to stay up because they bought some really decent players, and I thought, do you know what, and they had some decent players like Mitrovic.
They didn't blend them in well.
That's the problem. They didn't. Ryan Sessegnon, he's great.
He had his day, but
but they had decent enough players to.
Was it in January?
But I think they had more than enough players to actually survive the drop, and I can't believe how poorly they did. It really shocked me how poorly Fulham did.
Like culture, because I suppose the players who brought them up weren't really like trusted to keep them up as well. So I suppose the culture in the dressing room, the training ground must have been terrible. Really, all the established players were just like hating all the new
I am a little bit chuffed though because by the sounds of it, we're going to get Stephen and Ryan Sessegnon, which is good.
I do like Ryan Sessegnon.
They reckon his brother's better than him, but he's been injured a lot.
He's missed like 3 years worth of development. Like, whereas Ryan's been in the
they're both
first
wing backs
team.
and they left and right.
Stephen's been in the under 21s for about 3 years now, and he's not really coming up into
he was
the
like
first
he was out for like 18 months when he injured. He had a bad injury. He was out for.
It's funny they actually said that about Hazard's brother, and to this day, Thorgan, and to this day, it was just to get him a contract.
He's decent. He's a decent.
Is he really?
Yeah.
Thorgan Hazard's not bad. He's not bad.
Lukaku have a brother.
He's got about 4. Oh no, it's Pogba in it. Pogba's got about 12 in it.
Yeah.
No, Pogba's got a lot.
Jonathan. A couple of them play at right back or left back.
I think it's Jonathan Lukaku. He either plays for Standard or Anderlecht.
He's a fullback.
Yeah.
Really.
I remember they were saying the same thing about Yaya with Kolo, and they were right, to be honest. So
Yaya was better. Yaya was better.
No, he was
But
amazing.
see, that's slightly getting back to Tottenham briefly. That's the sort of player we need. City went out and they knew they needed that winner. That's someone who's going to push you forward, and they went and got Yaya Toure.
True.
Yeah.
Who would you like then?
Chelsea got Makelele and Carvalho, and these players.
Drogba was the key,
and then
yeah.
way back in the day, I mean, you had like Keane and just natural born winners. Vieira, Petit. What I mean? You had those players that would, and we.
I put Gilberto in there as well, like.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah, he was good. I liked him.
The shit, didn't he, like, for that period.
But he replaced Petit, him and like Vieira's.
Yeah. But like, there's all, and we in our midfield. I mean, you could say Dyer to a certain extent, but he's not. I just think
he's not Nails, is he? Like Keane.
This is what I mean. You need that player who's.
I actually think he's a bit limited.
But this
as well
is what I mean. He very rarely passes the ball forward, and I mean he can do it.
He's very limited
against Chelsea. Chipped the ball over the top. Ali brought it down. He can do it, and he can score a free kick, as he's shown for England. But I think we need that general in midfield, that player who's gonna, because who have you got really? Sissoko.
So I thought Wanyama was meant to be that guy,
Too many injuries have screwed him up.
Yeah, but who has that in their team now? We don't know.
Well, look what's happened.
We lack. Yeah, I know. We lack that winning leadership.
I've got a slightly different take on that, because I think it's reflective of the game changing. So that old generation of your Lampards, your Gerrards, that general midfielder, like you said, the game's moved more towards a passing kind of keep the ball possession based game. So that sort of the old Premier League where it's like end to end, I think is slightly going downhill. And Sarri based possession is basically that as well. He's kind of taken that model. So I don't know if we're going to see these types of players anymore.
I don't know. I think
no, but I don't necessarily mean like you have to have like a box to box midfield general. I just think that there's a lack of leaders and winners. There's a lack of someone who's going to be in there and be like, right, boys, let's grab this game by the scruff of
we
the
don't
neck
know
and
what
let's
it's
do
like
it.
in the dressing room. But
I was going to say, how do you know that? Because I think
no, but we can see it on the pitch.
But what do you see? You want to see someone getting angry? Do you know what I mean?
Not angry, but you want to see effort levels increase, and quite often you don't. You see like the same thing going again and again and again.
The point I was trying to make with City is they knew that they were spending a lot of money, but they needed to win that first title, and they
bought the right player. Yeah.
They bought Yaya Toure, who pretty much transformed that team because he was a winner. He'd been there, he'd done it, he'd won the Champions League.
Toure and Silva together,
I thought, worked together.
Yeah.
Plus he drove the team.
That's not underplay company as well.
But when the chips were down, he was there, push it, because he'd been there and done it. He was a winner. Now Tottenham haven't got that in their team.
No, and neither is United, and that's why I think Liverpool are doing so well, because Van Dijk is that player. He's that player that can just drive. It doesn't have to be a midfielder, but you can see that he drives the team forward.
Then, yeah, I agree. Because I suppose I was going to make like echoing Nav's point that look how well the teams are doing in Europe without that type of player, and I think. To echo Nav, like the Sarri ball,
what teams?
Like all the English teams
got
are
it?
in the quarterfinals of the Champions League and Europa League.
I think we've been riding our bloody luck. I think we're out in the next round.
We're still doing well without that, like midfield general. But
if you actually look at the teams that have won European competitions, let's say in the last 5 years,
Real
you've got like Real Madrid, and I mean,
won 5 of them.
If you're going to talk about a winner, Sergio Ramos is like, he's the epitome.
He drives the team forward.
Wouldn't you put him more on Ronaldo there? Come on, Ronaldo's
but I mean, Ramos.
Yeah, that's a good point. Because
Ramos is the one that grabs that team by the scruff of the neck when they're fucking about, when he's on the pitch.
I suppose like the fact we're talking about Keanes, the Gerrards and Lampards, and we're doing well without those type of players. Like the fact that we've got, I suppose, defenders like generals in defence, like the Van Dijks and
which is fine, but you need those generals, and I think United completely lack any generals.
We've got
Herrera's
we've got good.
I don't think
we've got good defenders,
yeah.
but would you necessarily class any of them as like a driving force?
No, see, Tottenham's defenders, I look at them, and although they're really good, I do think they seem a bit soft in terms of driving. In terms of that, yeah, they do seem a bit soft.
There's this thing with Dyer where he doesn't want to play centre back.
I like him.
He wants to play in midfield. Pochettino wants him to play centre back.
I think he's limited. I used to like him, but I think
wants
he's
him
limited.
To play centre back. He doesn't want to play centre back. So there's this thing where Pochettino sees him as sort of like the next coming of Bobby Moore, which is ridiculous, and he sees himself as like a Roy Keane holding thumping people, which is fine.
I think Roy Keane's probably his hero.
Probably. I mean, if that's what he's going to do, I mean, you only need to go back to that game at Stamford Bridge when he committed assault on like 5 Chelsea players and should have been sent off 4 times all by himself.
Battle of the Bridge, wasn't that one? Yeah, that was
I mean,
mental.
he should have been sent off about 4 times and he never.
Is that the one where you bottled it? Yeah. Is that game?
What, we were 2-0 up?
It was 2-2 in the end.
Is that when you're chasing the title though? Yeah. Is that just to refresh my memory? I don't know. Yeah.
It was done by.
No, he's having a little dig there.
I'm just
bottled it. You used the word bottled.
That's his veiled dig.
But again, this whole bottling it thing. How can a team now? If Liverpool don't win the league, they've bottled it because they were 13 points clear at one point.
Was it that much? Yeah.
12. 11,
it was a lot.
12.
It was a lot.
It was
anyway.
double figures. They were double figures clear at one stage. Now, if they don't win the league, that's bottling it. But a team can't bottle the league that's never led.
I tell you what, I agree with Mike, but I will say on the flip side of that, I do like the funny thing that Tottenham's got to a point where their trophy is to put pressure on the league. Have you seen this?
This is it, and everything that happens, it's just...
It's like we put the pressure on the league.
It's hilarious because the media will say Tottenham are in the title race. Now, every Tottenham fan knows Tottenham are not in the title race. Yeah, they're not even close. And 3 games later, it's so the media
so they twist it like it's flopped it.
Losers like Edward's fan base can sit there and say, "Oh, you bottled it! Oh, you've bottled it! You've bottled the
Arsenal
league."
bias, yeah.
Well, no, but it isn't because it is mainly Arsenal fans. It's mainly Arsenal fans, and it's because the media whip them up into a frenzy.
There's so many videos of Tim Sherwood saying, like Tottenham are in the league now. They're going to do it.
Yeah,
Tim
but
Sherwood
that's what
doesn't
I'm
know
saying.
anything.
He's
Tottenham manager.
I saw him,
things from Tim Sherwood's a dickhead.
Yeah,
he's an absolute dick.
He's your guy, though. That's what I'm saying. He's your guy.
He's not my guy. I never wanted him to be. I never went to a single game when he was manager.
Who did he bring? He brought through. Did he bring Ali or he brought a player through?
No, he didn't bring
any. All he done was
this was ages ago.
He brought Adebayor back from being ostracised. That was it.
And he did that salute when he's
for someone coming through. I can't remember.
Kane. He talks about Kane, but Kane was already in the squad because AVB had him in the squad. So that's bullshit. He talks a load of bullshit. He reckons that his win percentage is better than any manager in the Premier League at Tottenham. That's what he says.
How many games? Got 12 games or something.
If that.
That's what I mean. If you play 12 games,
it's like Big Sam as England manager, 100% record.
The geezer's a penis, and it's these people. Yeah, Tottenham are in it. People like Adrian Durham at TalkSport. This is how it starts, right? And this is pretty much verbatim, yeah? If Tottenham beat Burnley and then win the rest of their games, they will win the league. I mean, what sort of stupid comment is that?
Yeah.
All right.
But people like your quintessential donut of an Arsenal fan would be like, oh my God. And then you lose 2 games and it's like, you bottled the league. You bottled what? We were 3rd. How can you bottle a league that you've never led?
Arsenal fans are very antagonistic. I must admit. I know it comes back to his head, but until you accept it,
anti-Arsenal bias.
I think
what can I say?
No.
It's not anti-Arsenal bias. The fans. They are they're very aggressive towards us.
Michael's just admit. Sorry, Shane, you were making a very reasonable point, but Michael's kind of just shit all over that.
But the point is, this whole Tottenham being bottle jobs. Now, look, we've got to points where you think it's like statistically, you should never ever get to X amount of semi-finals and a final and not win a trophy. On that basis, I will say yes, you've bottled those trophies. Absolutely, because when the pressure comes, when the semi-final and a final pressure hits, they can't handle it. That group of players just not seem to handle it, which takes me back to getting a general in that team, someone who can handle it.
Was it last year in the Champions League? Did you lose to Juve? And then, Giorgio, was it Chiellini, was like, in that post-match interview, where it's like, I think this guy was like, well, you ever worried? It's like, no, it's Tottenham. Look at their history.
It's Tottenham, yeah, I remember seeing that, and I thought, oh my God.
Yeah, no, but because the thing is with Juventus, and this is one thing that I'll say about Pochettino, I've lambasted him loads of times about his in-game management. Now, what he learned from that Juventus game took us through the Dortmund game. I mean, look, we beat them 3-0 at home and then went out there and that was a proper snatch and grab 1-0.
Did he beat Juve in the first leg and then they came back?
No, it was 2-2.
2-2.
It was 2-2 and then we went 1-0 up in the second game.
In their ground,
and with it, no, at Wembley.
Oh, is it? Okay.
And then within probably 8 or 9 minutes, within a flash, we were 2-1 down.
So you had an away goal and then you were 1-0 up in your own ground and then you... Oh, okay, I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. But that was a proper seasoned Champions League team performance.
See, I feel sorry for Juventus. They got knocked out by Tottenham. They got knocked out by us.
They knocked us out. They went through.
Hey, because you're having a dig there. You're trying to wind Mike up with that. Okay.
No, because we knocked him out as well. I can't believe we fucking knocked him out. We knocked him out. That's bloody mental.
When they went 2-1 up, they proper went into like old school Champions League European giant, been there, done it. You know, every time you went near them, they fell over. There was loads of. They were just doing all the sort of nous that we haven't.
Is it gamesmanship?
Oh, that's another thing I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
Mike Dean. Sorry, that's just reminded me. What a fucking shit ref Mike Dean is. Fucking hell. How many red cards has this guy given? He's given out like 10 red cards this season, and he's the first referee to give over.
He was chasing the record, wasn't he?
Neil Warnock.
He was chasing the record.
Neil Warnock summed it up.
He knows it's his 100th red card. He's going to get that today.
Warnock summed it up perfectly. We've got the best league in the world and the worst officials.
But VAR's from next season, right? VAR's
I think so.
Liverpool
that'd be good. Yeah, with all the offside
How
goals.
do you mean?
Yeah, all the diving and all the offside goal, they're fucked.
They dive, yeah? Like,
What?
Seriously.
Mo Salah, mate.
Seriously,
Honestly.
I'd say
more
so,
than other
yeah.
teams.
Mo Salah fucking does it for
More
fun.
than other teams. You sure that's not your Man United, I hate Liverpool bias?
No, it's true.
No, I think so.
It's true. I mean, look at that. They're the equaliser against Southampton. Miles offside.
Yeah, that was offside, yeah.
And was it? Who was it? Was it against you or United? One of their goals were miles offside.
One of your goals against us was miles offside as well.
Which one?
I think maybe Kane's goal, I think?
No.
Your
But
first
they
goal.
were talking about that, and it was something to do with. See, this is the thing now, because no one actually knows the rules.
No, because they changed
But
them at the beginning of this
saying
season.
is that it was something to do with the phase of play.
Yeah, the rules changed at the beginning of the season.
They were saying that the offside goal got ruled out, didn't it? We scored and it got ruled out for offside, but the penalty, they said that Kane was offside when the ball was, but it was the phase of play or something. I don't know. So,
But yeah, our referees are fucking shit. They are so shit.
I mean, even that recent Chelsea game, as a Chelsea fan, that was just disgusting to watch. It was. Did you see that? Azpilicueta's, yeah. And then even that red card afterwards, it was just like,
Who's that ref? That fat one? I can't remember. He needs to get in shape or retire. He bloody looks knackered on that.
they're all
What's his
fat,
name?
mate. Fuck him. You know, apart from Dean.
No, but this one is particularly heavy set, and it's like he runs around. I can see him huffing and puffing. I think, Jesus Christ, you
Yeah, to
need
be fair, you
retire,
need to
man.
be fit for that job. So yeah.
You should be fit.
But the funny thing, they have to do a fitness test. They do.
Well, he's obviously passing it, but Jesus Christ,
Yeah, they do fitness
I
tests.
think on that note, should we switch to a different subject? We could talk about football.
we can talk about football
Yeah.
all day. I know it's something we all love and we're all passionate
so what
about.
are we gonna, was it Brexit? We're gonna actually touch this.
let's do this.
Shall we address the old Brexit, shall we? Oh God.
I guess we must.
Sorry, folks, but it's current news. We'll have to.
You say current. I mean, we're talking about this has been going for 3 years now. I mean, we can have the same conversation in a year later.
It's true. It'll
be just as current.
Apparently, you can't see my inverted commas that I'm doing on my hands right now, but we're apparently on. We're apparently at Endgame now. So they're talking about sometime in May
is it
now.
May?
But,
Okay.
I read this morning that Theresa May is now she's now going cross-party for a solution, which I don't know why you didn't do that in the first place. I mean, something as big as Brexit and the national interest should have been a cross-party situation anyway, especially if you're gonna say that any deal that you come up with has to go through Parliament. Why did you not have a cross-party solution to work on it anyway?
My basic premise on all of this is, in answer to that, Shane, is that Brexit is a Tory specific. Not propaganda. What's the word I'm looking for? Is effectively their own policy. So David Cameron pushed it initially.
It was a part of the manifesto.
No. I don't. So before that, so it was post the my brain's with the government with the Liberal Democrats. The coalition. That's right. Yeah. So once that got done, and he completely demolished the thing, and then he made that Tory seats more consolidated. Then he was like, the next step, let's get rid of the dissensions with the UKIP party and let's give them this referendum.
I'd expand on that and say it's not just Tory, it's more like a right wing policy.
Yeah.
No, but there is no way that Cameron wanted Brexit to happen. There is no way.
And I think he was arrogant because he thought it wouldn't happen.
He thought it wouldn't happen. But for me, regardless of who invoked the referendum, the fact that the country has now voted and said what they want to do. It has to.
No. I agree. Sorry, I'm saying the roots of the mindset. You're right. Now we got to this point now where, well, it's just a case of getting stuff through the government, and you're right. You have to do that with other people.
Yeah, you have to now, and her majority was so small in the House that you should have gone cross-party to begin with, because there's no way you could have pushed anything through based on your numbers in Parliament at all. Yeah. You just don't have enough politicians. You don't have a big enough majority to push that through, especially when you're relying on the DUP, who are Irish, who the big dispute over there is the border. So there's no way she should have gone cross-party from the beginning. They all should have sat down, come up with a solution to get us out of the European Union. But no, she waits right until the last second, and now today I see in the news today, I don't know if it happened earlier, but I see in the news today that she's gone cross-party.
It's even beyond the last second.
They were doing it yesterday, weren't they? It started yesterday. She's a Spanish cunt.
She's an
she's fucking Spanish.
Wait, let's lay our cards on the table. Like, how did we all vote or not vote? Like,
okay, I voted Remain. At this point in time, I just want something to happen. I don't care if it's stay. I don't care if it's go. I need it to happen because there's far more pressing issues going on at the moment, and we need to start concentrating on that. It's almost become a distraction. We're ignoring everything else. We're ignoring knife crime. We're ignoring everything else because of Brexit. NHS. We're ignoring it all because we're the homeless. We're ignoring all of this because of Brexit. So we either need to come out, stay in, fuck it off, and then say, right, let's concentrate on making our country better.
What do you vote?
I voted Leave.
All right. What about you?
I'm ashamed to say I didn't vote. And I just want to say, just because
there's no shame in that.
Well, I didn't even think about it. I didn't even think it would ever happen. You know, like just in terms of where we are with Europe, I always thought of us as, it's not as if we're a part of the Euro. We're not part of the Schengen zone, as Britain is an island, you know. So what was the issue? I didn't even think about it, you know. I was just like, whatever. I stuck it.
Well, we could have been part of Schengen. I initially thought Schengen was a good. Yeah, we opted out.
But what I mean is, in terms of literally someone just in the Schengen zone, you could just walk across.
You could just go anywhere. Yeah. It's your entry point into Europe is
exactly,
and then you can move wherever you want. So it doesn't matter.
Whereas in Britain, you literally got to go on a plane or on a thing, and then
or on a boat. So I suppose it is more difficult to have Schengen in, but you could have borderless, because from Calais you could just have no passport controls. But then there's so many non-EU nationals that are trying to get in from Calais to England that we would have to have checks there anyway.
That's what I mean.
Believe we should remain, or did you like?
Oh, absolutely.
Because with me, like you, but maybe for different reasons, I didn't vote. It's more like I couldn't.
Didn't you?
Yeah. I know. Surprise. Yeah. Like,
how come?
Because I went travelling a few months before.
Oh, I remember you told me this story.
To come back, I was planning to come back to vote, but then when I got back, I found I wasn't registered for some reason. Like, to me, I don't know. It could be my stupidity, or it could be just something a bit like off.
Yeah,
but
probably your stupidity.
It's anti-Arsenal bias. Like, creeping into Brexit talk. Let it go, Mike. Let it go. We're not Arsenal and Tottenham fans right now. We're British citizens concerned about our country.
Well, some of us are. You can't even vote.
What do you mean? I sorted it out now, mate. I sorted it out.
No, but to be quite honest, and I think I said this on our WhatsApp group, is that I actually have a respect for somebody who doesn't vote based on the fact that they don't know, or they don't know what is right. Because, as I said to you, I don't believe in that fucking ridiculous notion that you should always vote because someone died for your right to vote. Sometimes there's not something good to vote for.
It's like mandatory,
and abstaining. Yeah, see, I don't agree with that.
Election.
Whoa. Yeah, exactly, and it's your right not to vote. No, but
the pure reason that I've never voted is because no party has ever said to me personally, as in like on a personal level, yeah, I want them in.
You never connected.
And I agree with that.
No,
I agree with that. See, what most people will do is, like in Michael's situation, if none of them appeal to them, or they're disillusioned with the two-party system, they'll go down the UKIP road, or they'll go down the BNP road just to protest.
Fucking
and it's fucking stupid.
Shit houses like that.
Yeah, or they go to the Green Party, and it's. For me, that can really fuck up the country, because people have voted for something out of protest, which they don't necessarily want. Which is why I think if you abstain, I think that's more admirable, because you're just basically saying, well, I don't know, or there's nothing on offer that I think is decent or sensible.
No, and politics for me has got to a point where it just speaks to the very rich or the very poor. Like for me, when I listen to some of these policies, it's like you might pay slightly less tax, you might pay slightly more tax, and it goes here, it goes there. I mean, there's no party that says to me that you won't have to go to work every day, that you won't have to pay the bills every day. You know, it's the same thing.
Is that the type of policy that will get you like?
Oh man, if there was
I think that'll get us all in, wouldn't it? Oh, you don't have to go to work.
Yeah, but my point is, it's what really changes. You know, between Labour and Tory.
Well, we're considered. I mean, I know technically we are actually working class.
Yeah.
If you're looking at
I think when you get in the middle,
in terms of wealth, we are pretty much middle class, and I think Middle England quite often gets forgotten because that's not where the battle's won. The battle's always won at the polar end. And what you get is you usually get the parties will aim at the working class, things that are pretty much meant for the rich, but the working class somehow think it's for them, and then they'll vote for it. It's really weird how politics works.
No, that's spot on. I mean, that is, I think, what Brexit, because you look at Jacob Rees-Mogg, who's very wealthy, he's already put his, and then a lot of people that voted for Brexit were at the bottom end of the party, potentially because of the protest vote, like you said.
Yeah.
It's this idea that somehow we're gonna get it's gonna be better, you know, and it's like, well, how is it gonna be better? And then no one can really answer that. So I suppose I'm gonna actually have to ask you, Mike, what's your reasons? Because three of us here are
my main reason was the EU army.
Okay.
So this
is that for real though, or is that like?
That is for real.
It actually is for real. I didn't believe Michael when he first said it, but I think he sent me some clips or something. It is actually real.
What is happening now? Well, there's two things. So firstly, the EU army, and secondly, that a bill has been drawn up just before Brexit that by 2025, I think it is, every single EU state has to adopt the euro. It has to, shit bust. Now, obviously, that would be us. So, and look what the euro has done.
Is that for real though?
That's for real. Yeah, that's for real. That's for real.
They've been trying to get us to change for years, and we've been saying no.
What they were passing through the EU Parliament was that by 2025, I'm sure it's 2025 or 2026, that every single EU state would adopt the euro. Shit bust regardless.
That doesn't include people like I say people, countries like Norway.
No, because they've got
just in the
deals
trade.
Switzerland.
And Switzerland. They're just in the trade zone, but they're not.
Yeah. So they've got and then the EU army, which is basically everyone's national army, would be abolished.
Are you sure those are the deep? Because I know obviously you've got.
No, they are. Michael sent me something. Well, I think it was Merkel. What's his name? Macron and that mental dude. What's he? And they're all talking about Barnier. Yeah, they're all talking about it and basically saying that.
So basically,
that is the
everyone's national army would be abolished, as in name. It would be so there would be no British army, there would be no French national service, you know, all that sort of stuff, and you would be
like a British section of the European army.
Yeah, so you would be the European army. Union.
I know obviously you were in the army, so you're particularly sensitive to this type of thing.
But it's not really about being sensitive. It's more for the fact. Let's just say, for instance, that Merkel gets the arsehole.
Before you say that, let's not forget the reason why the European Union was created. It was to stop another Germany doing that thing again. Now listen to what Michael's got to say.
What it seems is trying to happen is that she wants to do what Hitler failed to do, just without any bullets.
Really?
Because think about it, right? So it's an EU army.
I think he's right. I think he's right.
It's an EU army, right? So it's a European army run by a very small number of people. And who runs the European Union?
Germany. They have the biggest economy,
and they pump the most money in and all that sort of stuff. So if she gets the hump with Russia, we're all going to Russia.
This is the thing with the European Union and our relationship with it. Like, say, your journey of the biggest economy, but I always thought, one of the reasons, there's two reasons why I thought we should remain. Like, given like my lack of knowledge, I know a lot more now, but back then, my two reasons were, I have a lot of European friends here, and like, a lot of the talk around leaving was quite xenophobic. And being xenophobic is like a cousin of racism in a way, like, for lack of a better term. So I was kind of,
but that all just depended on who you listened to, didn't it? If you were listening to the knobs,
but it was like driven by the knobs, like
there were a lot of people.
They do promote xenophobia.
I understand that,
but that's one reason.
There were a lot of people who were actually doing it for other reasons than let's throw a wall up, let's build a wall, let's get rid of everyone. Mate.
Definitely. And I know loads of people who are
like post 1973 when we signed up to it, 70 whatever it was.
She was the one that ruined our relationship.
But you don't think that people didn't retire. But you don't think people didn't retire in Europe. You don't think people didn't travel in Europe. You don't think Europeans never came to England post 1970 whatever it was.
Yeah, you'll have automatic visas. It's not going to stop anything from happening.
In Europe, they go to Spain predominantly.
Yeah.
Don't speak the language. Like, pretty much live in an English village in Spain. and don't really interact with people.
Which again, I don't agree with either.
Xenophobia was one.
No. Where's the facts of that? Where's the facts that they go and live in English villages?
I'll get.
They do. I mean, even my mate that lives in Cyprus, he's from here. Like they do it. We do it. We do it all over Europe. We build communities.
Yes, we do. I've seen it.
But but the integration isn't the same, because I guaranteed if you had a group of Russians that came here, didn't speak English, had their own little city, we would be fucking going nuts.
You yourself have gone nuts about that when you were living.
I don't like a lack of integration. I hate it.
That does happen. Eastern Europeans, it happens. They come and but. When people go and let's say you go and move to Benidorm, right? Yeah, you go and live in Benidorm. Would you demand that we opened a British shop?
No.
See, I don't agree with that.
But
I don't
now
believe.
All of a sudden, there's
who's demanding though, or is it just?
No, but
because they're not just popping up out of nowhere, are they?
Why not? Maybe someone has the business acumen to think there's a lot of people from a certain place in my area.
No. You don't go.
No. But Mike, on that point, I do think that. A shop wouldn't just pop up unless there is demand.
Well, of course, yeah.
In terms of supply and demand.
I bet you wouldn't walk into a Polish deli and it was owned by.
Why not?
Roger Smith.
There's a lot of black hair care stores owned by Indian people as well, because Indian people see there's a demand for this in the area, so I'm going to do it.
It's like some of the Indian restaurants. They're not actually Indian owned. Yeah.
Some are Turkish.
All the decent ones are.
I kind of agree with what. Yeah, I kind of agree with what Michael's saying though, because in a way, I mean, I don't necessarily mind someone coming over here and, for instance, opening up a Polish shop. I don't mind it.
Let's not focus on Polish as well.
No, but what you get, hang on. No, I'm just saying, for example, but what you do get is you usually get a whole street that will. The makeup of that street will change towards a particular community, whether it's Indian, African, European, whatever. But you do get streets that transform, like completely transform. I've seen pubs closed down for delicatessens of different nations. I mean, I'm not necessarily saying that it's wrong. Yeah, there's one or two. Yeah, I'm not saying it's necessarily wrong, but I do think it does show that it's a lack of it, because it just encourages people not to integrate.
So us leaving the EU will stop that?
No, I don't think it will.
Okay, so what's why are we talking about this in terms of the
I don't know.
I suppose that was one, like the xenophobe.
No, I think it came on about the xenophobia.
Yeah. To me, that sounds xenophobic to me.
But that's xenophobic.
Yeah, that is
xenophobic. So your street changing its makeup towards a specific subset of British people or a subset of foreign nationals is what makes people xenophobic, because the change happens very quickly.
Yeah. So all of that, then what we're trying to say is that that's what was talked about in terms of leaving.
Yeah, actually,
17.4 million. A chunk of that, obviously not Mike, but a chunk of that thought that's what's going to happen and stop.
That's going to stop, but it won't.
And that's got nothing to do with Brexit.
It was a huge number.
No,
it won't
stop. It won't make a difference.
All of a sudden,
but then again, that's why I was saying that people don't know what they're voting for.
I think it was a lot of it was fueled as well by
controlling our borders.
A lot of it, yeah, and a lot of that was fueled by terrorism that was on the rise at the time, because it was saying, you got the immigration crisis and this, that. So your average Joe knobhead who lives up in Sunderland, who doesn't get to see the light of day very often because it's so grey and dreary, will come out and say, oh yeah, that sounds good to me, and he's signing it. Rather than, me and Edward sat down and we actually went through it, didn't we? That £350 million a week plastered on the side of buses was a load of bollocks. But we sat down and we went through it, and we were looking at it and this, that and the other, and it didn't change my opinion.
Even on that, like I saw a recent story that our economy has contracted so much that we're losing 360 million a week just from the
threat of Brexit.
Our economy shrinking.
But what gets to me, the whole thing about Brexit, which I don't understand. Apparently, it's meant to be like, it's meant to be this golden chalice of prosperity for us to leave Europe. But what I don't understand is that during the Blair years, before we started getting into the wars and stuff, how comes none of these problems were an issue then? Like, there was no problem with the European Union. Racism was down. There was no hate crimes. I mean, why? What has changed to create this sort of
social media?
This mentality that. How has that happened?
Everyone's more aware of what's going on around them. It was like, just as a side note, you take paedophilia, right? It's always been there. It's always happened. Yeah. But when my mum was a kid, you didn't really hear about it because you didn't have Twitter, you didn't have Facebook.
When we were kids, we didn't really hear
about it. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
But there was
we didn't hear about anything like that.
The explosion of social media and the internet and all this sort of stuff, you hear all these things. You can see it. You
Well,
can,
no. I think, Mike, that's a good point, because I think it gives a voice. It gives it spreads fake shit very quickly. For me, though, Shane, in terms of answering your question, when I thought about it, I think in my perspective, I think what the reason is the gap between the rich and the poor, or rather property price. Let's just say property prices. It's been so difficult to get on that ladder, so then a lot of people are struggling. You know, we talked about homeless, that's the really extreme, but just generally going to university, getting a job, you still can't afford a house. So you got a whole generation of people so disillusioned, and it goes back to why people voted. It's just a protest vote. It's either you can't afford shit, your life is shit, or you know, you don't like immigrants. That's the way I see it. And for me,
I don't think I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think it's necessarily that people don't like immigrants, because I've seen some good stories.
Well, they blame immigrants
come out since
maybe.
Brexit, where they've been living next door to people of different ethnicities for 20 odd years, got on with them, and then as soon as the Brexit thing came, they fell out. And it's like, I just kind of feel like when your life's shit, the first thing that people do, especially the work, and I hate to say this because I'm working class myself, but especially the working class, when life gets shit, they blame the person who looks different, and that really gets me.
No, exactly. They blame anyone but themselves. They've just got to blame someone.
Anyone who's different. Yeah. I mean, they don't even have to look different. They could have a different. They could have a different social group or whatever.
I
but
blame
anyone
Edward
who is
just
not,
because he's a knob. He looks like a knob. He talks like a knob.
What do you mean? Hey, you could say I'm a knob, but don't criticize my looks, man. I'm very sensitive about
he likes kale smoothies, which really fucks me.
and he does like kale smoothies.
That's why I'm healthier than you, Mike.
Anyway,
we'll have a race outside. Yeah, let's do this. But just listen, like 2 points, like on I suppose xenophobia. Like there was post Brexit, there was I suppose people who lived in the echo chamber, me myself included. I didn't think it was going to happen until it happened. I think BBC were doing interviews with people to see why they voted. There's a podcast about it.
I voted Leave, and I didn't think we were going. I thought Remain would win.
But
I generally did. When I woke up that morning, I was like, wow.
Yeah, there's one guy.
It was so close.
There's one guy kind of echoed
close.
the point we were making earlier, that he said he walked into his local Tesco's, saw there was like a Polish or European food aisle, and was like, I didn't vote for this, like, and that triggered him to vote.
But you see that, right?
Yeah,
that's just so stupid.
What's wrong with having an aisle?
Because if you go back 5 or 6 years, there was American food aisles.
Yeah, exactly.
Tesco's. There was
Indian food.
Charms.
No, but that's my point. Like, well, why would some? I suppose maybe like he used that as an example to express what he generally felt, like to give that guy credit. But hearing that, it's
but
just
see,
like,
I think
that's silly.
I think that's
at the end of the day,
I think that's us doing our part for integration.
I'm
that is
a humanist
us. That's
at the
our
end of the day.
Yeah.
I don't dislike any race, any religion, anything. I'm a humanist, but it goes a bit too far. Now, Tooting Junction, like we were just saying, a pub closed down, it went out of business, whatever. Then that turned into a big Polish
delicatessen, which is there now. Yeah,
all on the outside, it's all in Polish. Everything, all the signage and all that sort of stuff is all in Polish, which for me is a bit far.
So you're saying, like, I suppose you don't feel you could go in there?
No. Well, yes, but then if you go directly across the street from that, there's a Polish-only doctors. Now, how is that right?
There really is.
What do you mean, like, no,
it says
you can't go in there?
Polish only, as in like a Polish.
This is what I was saying about
that.
changing the landscape.
Street from that.
Well, me and Michael live around. Well, I used to live around this area, so
dentist or doctors, one or the other. But it's and it's like Polish applications, Polish this, Polish that, and on the bins as well.
On the bins as well. You know where it says, "Please put your little hair." It's in Polish.
Why does it need to be that way? It doesn't need to be that way. And
yeah, I didn't know there was places like that.
That's where I think Shane is spot on when he says that sort of stuff promotes all the shit stuff. It promotes all the hatred and all the, because it's like, would we be able to go over to Poland and open an English-only doctor surgery? Probably not. We'd probably be burned out of it. Do you know what I mean?
I just think that. Yeah, I know we have globalization. I understand that, and this is another thing that annoys me about migration in general, is that why would you migrate to somewhere and make it how it was back home? I don't. I've
got a theory. Okay, so I've got a theory on that. So for everyone listening, my mum's born in this country, but her parents are from India, and my dad was from India. So there's a place close to me, as people might know, it's called Southall. So Southall, you know Southall, yeah. So Southall's been known as this sort of basically Little India. So
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely Little India.
And I hate the fact that I do live so close to it as well, because I feel like I'm linked to it. But I think going back to those roots, you got a bunch of people coming to a foreign land. Naturally, you're going to migrate to people who look like you, talk like you, so you can build a community that way. So then it sort of spawns, so then you open up an Indian shop because it's the food that you got back at home, so then it just comes up that way. I don't think there's anything malicious about it or any. No, I don't think it's malicious intent. But the point I'm trying to make is, I do think then there's an issue on their side as well that they need to integrate. So it comes both ways. Thinking about this, and this is going to sound like heresy, but when India, and I've been to India twice in my life for a total of 2 months. I lived in the US for like 18 months. So, but when India play England in cricket, I support India every fucking way. I want India to demolish England. And you go to these games and you think, why the fuck is this? No. And it's like, why is this? When you go to I don't know if you guys watch cricket, but yeah.
I support the West Indies.
Okay, you support the West Indies, but when you see these games, it is mental. There's no support for England, there's like India, and it's like, why is this?
I'm not a massive cricket fan, but I will support the West. I support England.
But why is it that you're supporting West Indies then?
Cricket, because that's where my parents.
So there's that natural connection.
My granddad's Irish, so that would be.
They don't play cricket.
They do now.
Yeah, they do.
They've got a really good player.
I was listening. He was on TalkSport a couple of months ago.
He's fucking wicked.
Yeah.
Mate, and he's good.
But anyway, it would be like me supporting Ireland as a football team.
Nah,
but you don't have that strong connection that, like, say, Nav or Shane, or even I do.
And exactly, and I think the point is, it comes from that initial root point where you come in here, you look, because the thing is, Mike, I mean, Irish people are, you could, if you stand up in the line, you wouldn't be able to tell an Irishman from an Englishman just looking at him, generally speaking. But you'll know an Indian guy from an English guy. You know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say. So
it depends. I mean, look, we're in the era of like heterosexuality now, aren't we? So you get all the.
Do you say hetero or metro?
Metrosexuality. So you've got men that will have a course of sunbeds and all that sort of stuff.
Well, yeah, I don't think a sunbed's going to make someone look.
Well,
yeah, come on. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, guys, I've been pretending to be Indian all this time. I'm actually Irish, fuck.
But it is frustrating because when you get and I've met a few, and I'll be honest with you, right? That I haven't met that many level-headed Leave voters. To be honest with you, I haven't sat down and had.
I don't think there are many. That's why
conversations with people that have actually brought forward good points,
or even any.
But,
yeah.
No, there is definitely. I've spoken to a few.
What happens is it's just it's like I was saying to Edward yesterday. Because I voted Leave, everybody around this table automatically assumes that I'm right wing and that I'll vote Tory. As an example,
okay.
But I've never politically voted in my life. Like for a general election, I've never voted for a general election. I share views of abortion and stuff like that, like you were saying to me, like left-wing views and liberal views and stuff like that. So I'm very much
it's like the
man about town.
It depends about the topic.
An eclectic mix.
Depends on the topic, like.
You're definitely well left, mate. Like proper
do
down. Jeans and flip flops.
Just because I'm
that way.
Just because I'm wearing. I'm in my house. I'm wearing jeans. Fuck you, man.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm left wing. I'm not gonna lie. I'll own it. I'm left wing. In fact, saying that I'm left wing, I don't actually think I am, because I think I'm liberal, because thinking about a lot of things and the way that I feel about certain things, I can't say that I am left wing. I think I am verging more on liberal these days, because there are left wing policies that I completely disagree with.
I'm very liberal when it comes to sex.
All right, we'll get back
between
to that.
A liberal is pretty much a centralist. They will, but they're liberal. They're liberal in their approach. A left winger is more sort of like, well, it's quite hard to actually define what liberal, right and left wing are, because if you go further enough in one direction, you come back round. So,
I say define, because say in America, for instance, liberal has kind of been conflated.
Yeah, they think that liberal isn't.
They're like hand in hand.
They're not, because a liberal is someone who has policies from both sides, basically.
But in American politics, they're like.
Obviously, we're not in America, but I just thought, because some people may get confused here.
Let it go, mate. You know. It's been ages.
Mate.
Let it go.
3D later on for this table, mate. Yeah.
So with Brexit then, so let's say so it's June, isn't it? Is that the latest date?
That's when they've
requested.
When
they requested. Okay, so
didn't they tell her it was May?
I think it's May. I think there's something happening in May.
No. The last thing I read was April something like that.
And then it moved.
That would be if there was nothing. Has it moved again?
It moved to
because
May,
I was the last I read that if there was nothing decided by then, it was a no deal, and that was it.
So what's your thoughts on that then?
Theresa,
let's say if it is a no deal, what's your thoughts?
It won't be that. It'll either be a deal or you remain.
But that's ridiculous.
Or you remain.
Either a deal or what, sorry?
Because her deal was a bag of bollocks anyway. It's pretty much.
So what would you prefer then?
At the end of the day, what I'm saying is, if Remain won, if they won the vote, then if they was arguing that it was democratically this, that, and the other, and whatever, and the electoral rule was broken, and blah blah blah, and all that sort of stuff, then there would not be an argument for a second vote. Remain won,
but that's not the question.
And that was it. So if you're doing anything other now than leaving the European Union,
I kind of agree with this now because I also read something.
Leave with no deal?
Leave, if you're going to leave, you've got to leave, And if there's no deal on offer, then you leave with no deal.
So what's your thoughts on that?
The reason why I've now changed my opinion, because before I was saying, it'd be great if it all failed and we remained. The reason I've changed my views on it is simply because if we don't do what the country voted for, you're going to get a far-right party that will come in and they will sweep up all them votes. They will sweep up all them votes. If you don't do,
and that's a
shitload of votes. If you don't do what the British people or the British public have said that you have to do, you'll get a far-right party that will come in and they will sweep up a hell of a lot of votes.
I'll tell you my problem with that is that the result of the vote was 52-48. Yeah, to call that the will of the people.
It is fine lines, I know,
50-50. We're talking, you know what I mean? So, I hate it when I hear that phrase, the will of the people. I'm right.
Yeah, but if the will of was the other way, would you still be making the same argument?
Yes, and I'll tell you why. Because for a constitutional change in not only politically but economically, it shouldn't be decided on a 50-50 split. It should be a much bigger of change. So the referendum should. If Leave had won, it should have been on the basis 60, of, I would say 65 to 70%.
Say the same thing. I always believe that. I think for constitutional change, you're correct.
You cannot do it on 51%.
Even the Premier League, when they're changing the rules to the Premier League, they need to have a similar margin.
Exactly. You can't have a margin of 50%.
Unfortunately, these sorts of things can't now be ironed
out.
No,
they can't.
2 or 3 years down the road. That should have been done and dusted there and then, and it should have all been laid out. Right, we're going to have a referendum. We're going to have this, that, and the other. We need a clear winner. We need 70%. We need
another.
That's what should have happened, and it never happened. So now
we have to leave.
No, I disagree.
We do have to leave.
It's been voted. And do you know what else pisses me off? You see all these photos of those cocks in Brussels, right? And they're all stood there, and I don't know whether you've seen it. They're all laughing and joking, and they're pointing at an empty spot. They're all stood on a stage and they're all pointing at this, like having a laugh. That's where the UK should be, and it's like we're getting.
No, I agree. I don't think the EU have come across very well.
They are.
To say it's too late. So we, post 3 years. It's been 3 years, isn't it? It's not 2 years. Yeah, 3 years. Yeah. So I mean, a lot's been learned. A lot's been talked about. It's a slightly informed decision. You're right, Mike. I get it on the point of you can't just keep voting until you get the right decision. No. But obviously I made my point in terms of the split, but you got much more of an informed decision now 3 years later. There has been numerous petitions. I think the petition at 7 million. I know that's not 17 million, but 7 million.
Did you actually see where a lot of those signatures come from? When
no, don't tell me robots.
No, not robots. They were coming from
on.
all like Kazakhstan and places like that. There was loads of signatures on there that weren't even anything to do with it.
I don't know. I'm not gonna
do the actual. Is it algorithm?
Well, yeah.
Where they look at they
look at IP addresses.
They broke it down and where all the and there was something like 2,500 signatures from Afghanistan.
If you're gonna do it, use a VPN, man.
yeah. To be honest, if you could vote, if it's possible to vote on like what our parliament like talks about in MP like Commons questions, whatever it's called, and you're not from the UK, IP address not from the UK, then that's an issue in itself, really.
But they filter those out on the petition website because we had some petitions that when I did some work actually for the Department of Health where they were doing basically questionnaires. and they actually filter out certain IP addresses, and if they're repeat IP addresses, they filter those out as well. Yeah.
Okay, well then that probably clears up what you were saying then, Mike, because if they're from like Kazakhstan,
they'll get filtered out.
Yeah, so they won't be part of the 7 million.
They do get filtered out.
But they were though.
Yeah, I suppose the point I'm making is it's a big chunk. What's undemocratic about having another vote?
Did you know what it is?
But where do you stop?
Where do
you stop? If that's it, no. But so what if Leave win again by 51%? Do we leave with no deal? Is that okay with everyone?
I think it's a struggle, but to be quite honest, I have heard of a lot of leavers who I've spoken to as well, who are now saying they've changed their mind.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. I mean, do you have a?
Do you know what'll happen the second time? Hardly anyone will vote.
No, I think more people.
I'll make sure I will.
And do you know what would be good, and it would be hilarious if it did happen, is if Leave won again. And then everyone, people like Edward would be crawling up inside his own arse because he wouldn't know what to do with himself.
Mike, would you vote Leave again?
Absolutely.
Jesus. Like, with everything that's like...
Yeah, I would,
I would, if I could vote again, I would vote Remain again.
My 2 points have not changed. And just because I don't agree with you, the whole Jesus and the roll in the eyes thing, so what, mate? I'll vote what I want to vote.
Hey, I'm not saying you shouldn't. But man...
And because I never looked at it from let's stop all the fucking immigrants, let's do this like some lunatic. I looked at it from a completely different perspective, and those 2 points that I brought up.
Do you know why I?
Regardless of whether we leave or
do you know why I would vote? I would vote Remain again. Reason being is I just don't trust this fucking government to deliver us anything.
Listen,
I'm scared.
I don't trust
I'm so scared
because that deal she's come back with is.
But this is my point. I'm so scared. Like, for me, I want something to happen either way, either Remain or Leave. But for me, if you can't deal with this, if we left with no deal, how the fuck are you going to deal with anything else? How the fuck are you going to?
It's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be like 6 months to a year.
How are you going to get us great deals with all of these other countries when you can't even fucking get us out?
There is a lot of scaremongering going on from everybody. Everybody, they're saying that this manufacturer's packed up his shit and left, and this manufacturer, no, but this one has said that they're staying, and then we've got Trump coming out and saying that we're at the front of any queue for any trade deal. Then you've got trade deals that are in process of being agreed with, like a lot of the Caribbean islands and stuff like that. They're already in the process of being signed. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, just go back to the Commonwealth. That's essentially what we'll do.
They won't sign this trade deal. So I don't think anyone actually knows what's going to happen.
No, we don't. No, we don't know what's going to happen.
If you leave...
But my point is,
you might hit a recession. Possibly.
My point is that we have. I think we have.
Why are you like dismissing the fact of like a recession is a bad thing? It's not like.
I know.
No, but for me, I feel that we don't have.
I'm not saying it's not a bad thing.
We don't have anyone, any party who I could be confident that we're going to leave and you're going to go and do a great job of it. Look what we've got, man. It's not just from an ideology.
Well, it's
not from an ideological perspective that we leave, we're on our own. It's not. I'm not berating the ideology of it. I'm berating our fucking ability to do it. Look what we've got in charge.
Yeah,
we've got such shit in charge. As I said to you, I sacked off my membership for the Labour Party. I can't deal with it.
I've never voted in a general election for this very reason. Because they're all
and this
proves it. This proves it now. And if let's be honest, right? Historically, us as working class men should vote Labour.
Historically, that would have been a vote.
Who's going to vote to put that man in charge?
I can't even support the Labour Party anymore.
Lunatic. And then you've got Theresa May. Now, if she steps aside, you've got old big bad Boris lined up.
Or Rees Moggs.
It's catastrophic. And you've got little things like the Edward's Green Party and people, you know what I mean?
The Indo Party.
What's wrong? Wait, what? First,
I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I'm just saying.
Man, actually,
but to be quite honest, I don't have this. Do you know what? It's gone beyond for me. It's gone beyond the ideology of leaving or remaining. It's gone beyond that now. I just don't. What this has shown me, the whole process, is that we don't have any competency. So what makes people think that when we do leave, we're going to be competent enough to get these deals in place?
I agree with you, Shane. Like this whole thing showing up. I suppose the political elite, like Eton educated, Oxford, it doesn't mean.
It means nothing. It means nothing.
It means bullshit. Yeah. I mean. Just even from a high level perspective, even if Britain were going to approach these countries for these deals, we're all coming from a place of weakness, So Trump can't wait to have a deal with. First of all, he likes bilateral deals anyway, but he knows Britain is desperate. He's going to favour everything towards him.
Excuse the phrase, we'll get raped. We'll get raped.
Yeah, we'll get fucked.
We're going to have that chlorinated chicken.
He's going to be selling us the chlorinated chicken.
But the only thing is now, I agree with what Nav said about the the percentages. But if that was the case, that should have been laid out.
It's true, absolutely. Yeah, you're completely right.
Yeah. No, I agree.
If you're just going to keep, and basically all that's happening now is all those lunatics that go to Westminster every couple of days with their blue wigs and their blue and starry flags and all that sort of stuff, all they want is they want it to keep being revoted until Remain win. That's all they want. And that's what a lot of people...
Don't get me wrong, I don't think a second referendum will happen. I'm saying I'd like it to happen, but I don't think it will. I don't think it will,
Is that not the death of democracy then?
I think what might happen is we might get a vote on the deal, but I don't think we'll have a second referendum.
Yeah, you might get a vote on the deal, but I think if you're voting again to stay or leave...
But to be quite honest, voting on the deal is essentially the same thing, just wrapped up in a different guise.
Yeah, because if you don't vote for the deal, then what do you do?
I think it is the same thing. And they're already talking about that now, that they're going to potentially have another referendum for the deal.
But has no deal been taken off the table?
Yeah.
That's been
Theresa May has said.
But see again,
Theresa May has
bullshit,
said we either accept her deal or we remain. That she said those were the two options. I read it today on the train.
So what Nav's just said, you either stay or you go.
Yeah, and I think what it is, Mike, is maybe it's hard for us to even imagine. I certainly can't imagine it fully. But what does a no deal really mean? From it could be scaremongering, but it does make sense that nothing will come into the country without whatever forms there are, forms that people don't even know.
The deal doesn't mean that we'll die. All it means is that we'll be paying a hell of a lot more until a deal's in place.
WTO tariffs, they're like. People were saying WTO tariffs, it's fine.
No, World Trade Organization tariffs
they're set up for war-torn organisations.
They're for basic. They're like a safety net.
That's not what we should be operating or aiming to operate under in any circumstance.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So would you be happy to adopt the euro as a currency?
But we haven't adopted the euro.
No. But there is that. I mean, Phil,
I suppose there's two frames of mind. So I think Blair and Brown apparently were like, if we don't adopt the euro, it's going to be catastrophic for us. But then it's probably we benefit from not adopting it.
Yeah. I don't think we should be destroying our sovereignty any further.
But then also if you look at the trends of the pound to the euro, the trend is the euro has gone up and the pound has slidden.
Euro's catching up, no doubt.
But that's only because of everything that's going on with Brexit and all that.
Even before that.
Do you know why I'm completely opposed to the euro? Is because if you look at the member states of the European Union, there is a massive disparity in between the wealth that's generated by each member state, but the interest rates are set at exactly the same across the board because it's a central bank.
It's a central bank. This is why places like Greece and Italy,
so what you get is you get countries that are struggling.
Do you think we're going to be in the position of Greece? And it's
no. I'm not saying
with the fifth largest economy.
I'm not saying. I don't think we'll be as
no. But I'm saying that's
countries like Germany.
But it doesn't work. It doesn't work. We have to remember we're not the United States. We're not a single entity. We are an organisation that is made up of different sovereign states. If these states have different riches, different GDPs, and you're trying to balance the interest rates and set your interest rates across the board of all of these different countries that have different GDPs, they all have, and you're trying to set a currency that is a standard across the. I think it works.
I think to go with your point, I think it kind of leads to more integration because the thing about the United States is a state like I think Connecticut or something like that, it doesn't produce as much economically as say Texas or New York.
Yeah, but it's not. They're all Americans.
But I mean, but that's the point. So money gets distributed from those high I suppose the economically prosperous states to the less prosperous.
Yeah,
states.
but the reason, Edward,
but integration would mean that. More integration would mean that states like, say, Germany.
No, but this is what you're not getting. America is a single entity made up of different states that all speak the same language and their cultures are very similar. You're talking about completely different countries with different languages, different cultures, different sovereignties, all having to help. And it won't work. You'll get problems. But
the problems are already there.
And now Austria want to come out. The Austrian people want to come out now.
That was the point of that was what people argued against the European Union as a concept in the first place. What you've said.
Yeah, but no, for me, the concept of a European Union loosely fits. It's when you start introducing single currency. That's only a recent thing. You start introducing single currencies, and you start introducing.
It wasn't that long ago that you had the punt was Irish, wasn't it, and pesetas. And
drachma in Greece. It's not that long ago. I remember using drachma.
20-something years.
Yeah, 15.
I remember using drachma in Greece, so it's not that long ago. And to be quite honest, if you're what we're trying to do is we're trying to become like the United States, but we are culturally so different in terms of the member states that it doesn't work. They've got this, the United States, they have this patriotism at the core of their education. You're all patriotic. You all know the national anthem. We don't have that here, and we're trying to introduce the same sort of system in a bloc that has vastly different countries involved with it.
What I will say, on that is that I think what they've tried to do with the European Union, they've tried to do it too fast. Like, I think it should. Like, I don't like even if the end goal was to be like the United States. Whether that's good or not, I don't know. But
I don't think it is, Ed. I didn't mean to interrupt, but I was going to say, Shane, I disagree with what you're saying, because actually, taking it back to the point that you said, why was the European Union created in the first instance? For peace,
post World War II.
World War II. Has the European Union not achieved that?
So why does it need to go further?
Well, by introducing a currency that the UK has already not adopted,
then we have to adopt it by a certain date. And also,
I've never heard that.
Also, the single army. It's all going towards the same sort of thing. We're homogenising Europe.
I don't know. Even a single.
We are homogenising Europe. I don't agree with
coordination amongst armies.
I mean, isn't that what NATO is?
Coordination is one thing, but having a single army is another.
You had that with the UN.
And NATO, you mean?
Yeah,
right?
but the UN is like all nations. Like a coordination amongst European armies or even European intelligence
why
isn't
does it need
that
to go that far? All right, European intelligence. Okay, fine. If you're all going to get together and share your intelligence, and
but there's no one in charge of that. But
why do you have to have one sole leader of a whole European army?
How do you know it's one sole leader?
But exactly, I was going to say.
There's not one standalone man is going to be.
But I mean, there's a concept, but then like the concept hasn't been defined, and then we're adding all these extra bits on it, which may possibly negative, but we don't know the full details of that concept.
Of course not. We're all lay people.
No,
exactly, I agree.
This is the whole problem with the whole process. The whole thing is no one actually really knows.
No, but Mike, what you do know is what's happened. Do you know what I'm saying? So in terms of what's going on in 10 years' time, that this vote that I've never heard about. Let's talk about what we do know now, right? So the last 5 years, our whole life we've been part of the European Union, haven't we? Wait, 70s, we're all 80s, I was like thinking, did that happen when I was born? So what's actually happened in that time?
That's the point that I'm making. It's not the fact that the European Union was, I'm saying it was a bad thing. I'm saying the way that the European Union is progressing, it's basically homogenising Europe. That's what it's doing. Of course it is. I mean, getting rid of everyone's currency for a single currency is, I mean, we are the only member state that doesn't have the euro. There's a reason for that. What's the reason? You can't say that we were the only nation who were like, no, we're not going to adopt the euro. I reckon. No.
That's exactly what you're saying. We are the only one. And no. It's not that we played hardball. It's that our economy is such that we can play that game. You talk about Greece. You talk about it is in their benefit to adopt the euro. It's not in our benefit to adopt the euro, as the pound is stronger than the euro. So it's everything that's happened is a good thing. So with Greece adopting the euro, with whichever countries you've used, there's smaller currencies coming into a bigger market. That's a good thing. So now the UK doesn't do that, and we don't have to do that. I've never heard of European saying, "Oh, UK, you've got to go to the euro."
At the beginning, I said there's 2 reasons why I wanted to vote Remain. One was the xenophobia, and the second one is the fact that I don't think we've really pushed our weight. We've always in Europe. I think we've always been kind of negative towards it. But like Britain before we voted to leave, we were the second largest economy. Yeah,
we got huge power within the European Union without having the euro. Without
hard power, like it's probably us and France who, in terms of militaristic power, who are the strongest. Like France have more nukes than us, but so there's that as well. And then sense of culture, like through when someone from the Czech Republic or Czechia as it's called now speaks to someone from France, they speak in English. Like through America, like a lot our language is pushed throughout the world, not just Europe. We have a lot of cultural influence there. Like a lot of our music.
But you lot are saying you're disagreeing with my point, but you're just proving my point. It's homogenization.
No, but I'm not making your point. I'm saying the fact that we have a lot of weight that we haven't really tried to push, and like if we really tried to, we could have done more.
I was trying to make the point earlier on. Thatcher actually made the mistake when we actually signed up to the European Union. They wanted to put the central bank here. They wanted to put all that stuff here, and we said no. Well, Thatcher said no, essentially. So straight away, she was kind of like half a foot
and that's the point. If we really push like all the things that people find negative about the European Union, if we actually pushed our weight, we could have shaped it to be something.
We could have done. Yeah.
And if we remain, if we actually wanted to.
But see,
I still aim to do that.
There's certain things I agree with the European Union. As I said, I'm a Remain voter, but I do feel that over the years there has been, regardless if you lot agree or not, I kind of think it's quite factual that there has been a homogenisation of Europe. I mean, we've got. But
what's wrong with that? My point is, I'm not disagreeing with that. I'm saying, but that's you're saying it as if it's a bad thing. So what? Why Greece adopting the euro? Explain.
No, but I'm saying in general the homogenisation. So the fact that.
So what else has been homogenised?
no, people don't have different currencies. That we're more and more using a single language, like you.
So that's the same. So that's the same reason then.
It's homogenisation.
So what's wrong with Greece adopting the euro?
Greece adopting the euro is what puts a financial strain on the rest of the member states of the European Union, because we have to now prop them up because their GDP doesn't match the rest of the input of the GDP of the people in the eurozone. We're not in the eurozone, so we still have to pay into it, but we're not in the eurozone in terms of the euro. And
they don't have fluctuating interest rates for different countries, do they?
No, they're all. It's a central government. It's a central bank.
A relatively small, and I don't want to use the word poor, but poorer country like Greece are still paying the same interest rates as Germany, who are huge.
Yeah, so Greece will get paid fewer euros. And it is bad for them because they will then get paid fewer euros because of where they are in the grand scheme of, like, you will pay more euros for something in Germany than you would in Greece. So the market disparity is too different between the countries to have a single currency.
I mean, definitely not. I mean, just in terms of my work in finance, that's definitely not the case. The benefits of in terms of currency and obviously market. I mean, this is on a minor scale, but you're part of a bigger market. It's like saying you're selling like apples. You don't sell your apples to that street, but you sell apples to the entire town. So you got a bigger market to sell your wares basically, and then everyone has access to those apples as well. Greece, as part of all this, doesn't have any of these issues of I want to say tariffs, but it's not just tariffs. It is a bunch of other things. And Greece, without the European Union, would have gone bankrupt. I mean, I don't know why we're talking about Greece. This is the funniest thing because we're talking about UK.
It builds into the larger picture of the European Union. Is it a good thing? Is Brexit a good thing?
So that I mean, obviously, it's kind of semantics to a certain degree, because what are we saying as the UK? What will happen? What won't happen? The premise of joining the euro, when we don't even know that's the case or not, as a reason to leave the European Union, I find
I can't say that you would leave the European Union based on just that. It has to be a collection of reasons. You can't. I don't think you can say as an educated person that we leave the European Union based on one facet. That would be silly. I mean, you do have to weigh everything up as a whole.
Exactly. I mean, breaking that one down, and then the other point I think I've heard so far is the European Union. Again, the European Army. Again, I don't understand the concept here, because NATO's effectively that. I know it's bigger than Europe, but the thought of having an army adds again to the fundamentals of the European Union. It's giving safety. It's stopping us from closer integration means peace, the way I see it. For me, London. I mean, going back to the whole English argument, I think London's the greatest city in the world because of all these cultures, because of all these people. You integrate. Well, if we got a separate, if we're saying we've got a separate army in Europe and a separate army in Britain.
So from what I've seen, basically it is that you would conscribe. There was another guy that was talking about on YouTube. I can't remember his name. I'll have to look it up. But basically, we send our soldiers, whoever signs up, to the European, and that's it. You all do the same thing over in whatever, and that's the army.
Oh, you mean...
So it's not...
I've never heard of this.
I mean, as I said, I heard Michael speak...
I mean, this is a concept about it.
He sent me a couple of things, and I've seen a couple of other videos about it, and it is something that is on the cards, the European Army.
Again, I think I said it. I think there's a concept's been raised, but like the details haven't been lined out. That's kind of my...
Well, when you've got Angela Merkel, Macron, and I can't remember who else it was, basically saying that they agree with this, and they are the superpowers of the European Union, it will happen eventually.
So I mean, I don't know that. I don't understand it, but let's just say UK remains as part of the EU. We've got veto power. So if we could veto it, I mean, even if that was the case and that was proposed at the council, UK could just straight up say no.
No, carry on.
Oh no, that's sorry. Ed was waving his hands around for everyone listening. Yeah, so we'll go on, man.
You should probably wrap up at some point. I don't know.
Yeah, we can have a little break then. Yeah.
Break or wrap up.
Oh, what time is it?
We're at like hour and nearly 40 minutes.
Jesus Christ. See what happens when we get talking.
Yeah, I think football was like 40 minutes, and then Brexit's been Brexit's like an hour. So
I think it's good that we did this, because then we had a serious conversation about something non-football.
Yeah. Like, we included all this in there as well. Yeah.
Might as well, yeah. Oh, we haven't got any other topics.
We do have loads. We do have lots of topics.
Let's have a little break here, and then we could reassess.
Let's wrap this podcast up, and then we can come back and do. Yeah.
We could do another one. Yeah. No, that's why I went back to Mike's points, because.
All right.
Break time.
All right.
All right. Let's say bye now for this one then. Yeah. No, that's cool. It's cool.
This is the first Type Men podcast. Like,
thanks for listening.
I suppose I thought football was like a dividing issue, but Brexit's even like worse. It seems, like it's interesting chat though.
Probably reflective of how society is at the moment. I mean, everyone's talking about it.
I felt we would work well together as a team.
Yeah, definitely. Michael, do you want to give the
Nice
socials so if we need any interaction, we can get some from the listeners?
Mike doesn't have the social details.
I haven't.
Mike's got a blank look on his face. Yeah, zone out completely. Yeah. Throwing him under the bus right at the end of the podcast.
If there's anything that you think we should be discussing, you can hit us up on our email.
I suppose Twitter in particular at Tight UK. That's really the one.
Is it Tight UK, not Tight Men UK?
Tight UK.
Oh shit. Okay. No wonder I couldn't find us.
Right. Instagram, that would be Tight Men UK as well. So, but yeah, like hit us up, like let us know what you think of this, and we'll see us on the next one, or you hear us on the next podcast. Cool.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.